Hey everyone, thank you so much for your patience while I've been getting better. I'm finally feeling more like a human and I don't have chipmunk cheeks more than I normally do. So today I want to share with you just a few little tips and tricks for your packaging project. I think you're doing a really great job. You've each pulled a Dieline that seems really right for you and your project. Some of you have gotten really far, and that's awesome. And then some of you have done a bunch of laying out, but maybe I can help you get it to a better place. So that's what this video is for. Many of you, let me just share my screen. Many of you are in some state like this, where you have a box, something along those lines. This is actually one that I've created from another one that I found on the web, like you guys did. And I think the big thing is making sure that you make it your own, right? You can use that template yourself, but then in this case where I've actually gone back and actually recreated the whole thing. I actually copied and pasted over, and I tweaked a few things. One of the things about pulling in a die line versus making your own or tracing over one so that you have your own file is that you can't change the color of it. You can't change its opacity. You can't change the design or the shape of it, really. It's kind of what it is. You can increase it and decrease it in size, but you couldn't change just the proportion. In this case of this one, maybe I just want to change the height of the carton itself, right? I could do a little carton, I could do a big carton. I can change anything I want kind of with a flick of a switch, right? Like I can pull all of these things together and I can change its proportion slightly, and then I'll get a smaller box. Or I can actually take that center area and decrease its size so that it's a smaller box. In this case, I really like this design. I've been working on it for a little while. My goal, and I'm not quite done, but is to make little carton gift boxes for everybody. And so they'll hang, and again, I haven't fully finished it out. It's a little fussy for me. I'm going to tighten it up and maybe do a little bit less, but it kind of gives you this little house that you can put your gifts in. So this template, actually, I can show that to you full size later. So this template here makes this carton. And this carton comes from my nice flat sheet of paper. Now you can barely see my die line there, okay? The reason is that it's set to a percentage of like 30% of black. It's like a really light amount of gray. So I think the minimum on my printer is 15%, but everybody's different. So I say 20% is safe. And you can switch it up accordingly, but I like light lines so that when I trim them it doesn't look like this is actually from the template itself. You see, for very dark lines, most people don't want their line work showing, their framework showing, so that's where stuff like this comes into play. And it's the in-between work. So this is my blank. And let's go back to sharing my screen. And here is that template. So again, I've traced it all up, and now I have the ability to add text, to add images, all of those things. Some of you are bringing in actual images. So let me show you how that would work. And I actually have a good image to put in that background. And so I want to use the texture of this image. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on mask in my properties, and I'm going to pull this down to see if that's a texture that I like. And I mean, it's pretty close to the size. But I'm looking to make a candy shop box, basically. I sort of have some illustration I want to use, but I thought it would be fun in this case to use glass as the roof. If I make these the right size, I could even fit one of my husband's ornaments in it, which would be cool. So this is me just copying and pasting, duplicating, right, with my key commands. Or, you know, you can Command C, Command V. But really, one of the easiest ways to go about duplicating anything is hold your Option key down and click and drag. And that's in Illustrator. So this is something to factor in. Now, what I'm working with is a carton, right? So I've got all of these upper areas to work with and think about. So when I get into this box here, you know, I'm working up in these upper corners, I have to think about how it's going to look, right? And that's a lot of what's happening with each of you, right? You want to pay very good attention. And this is why making a box sample is so important. You can see each of these panels and how they relate to each other in space, right? And how they look, right? One folds up, one folds over, it changes perspective. And it might make an area more or less valuable. Also, keep in mind your margins. Everybody, pay very close attention. You're working with really small boxes, so you might be working with really small type. Keep your type big enough so people can read it, okay? 8-point is really the minimum, and that's more caption type, like really tiny type. So keep it bigger, but also watch those spaces around the box. You want to leave edges, unless you're purposefully going over the edges. You know, there's all sorts of rules, and then break them when it's, you know, when it works. Not because you want to, but because it's part of what's necessary for the design. Again, consider legibility and consider how it looks. But again, you really want to kind of think about how pieces and parts go together. Some of you will have flaps. Make sure that the direction of the flap is the way that you want it. Because most times you want the flap to open, and that top flap, is it the right direction or not? Double check, okay? I hope this helps. Be well.